Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Podetize Feed Your Brand Brandcasters Inc. Weekly client call. Welcome, Nick. Haven't noticed you on one of these before. Welcome. So those of you watching this on one of the various platforms out there, we're on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, everywhere at once for this call. And if you are a Podetize customer and you want to be able to comment in the chat and ask questions during Q&A, you need to be obviously a client and then registered for this webinar that we do every week at noon Pacific. Those of you who are not customers, that's one of the benefits of being a customer is you get to participate. Today we're going to talk about social media and one specific recommendation, especially for new podcasters. And usually I start recording this as a Feed Your Brand episode. I want to address the elephant in the room. I'm not going to do that right now, partially because Tracy is a little detained and joining me for this call. Usually we're here together and we start by recording our own podcast for about 20 minutes and then have the Q&A. I'm going to reverse this a little bit and make this a little bit of initial Q&A and some things I'm going to share. And then when Tracy arrives, we may record it as a podcast then. And then also, fair warning, I have to leave 15 minutes before the end of our usual broadcast for an appointment, but Tracy will take it the rest of the way. So welcome to those of you here live. All right, what we want to talk about is social media and our recommendation for when you are a new podcaster, especially. And I know we have a very experienced podcaster on here who is a master social media marketer.
Yes, he is.
And Scott Carson, one of our longtime customers. And I'm sure he would have some comments or words to the wise on this. Basically saying when you're new, really starting with one social platform at a time and really assessing success there is, I think, well, it's recommended. And I have a case study I'm going to share that is a recent new podcaster with Podetize who's been doing this and experimenting, and we have some interesting results to share. And then Cody, I know you also started a podcast recently, and you started a podcast and have been engaging in social as well.
Yes, we have.
Yeah. So I'm going to just share my screen quick and share with you who I'm going to talk about, which is a show called Weekend Crafting Adventures. Kim Watalowitz is the host. There she is. This is her webpage and her podcast, and then some of her episodes. And I'm going to, let's see, let's go to this hat press. She is the self-proclaimed hat girl. She's a hat girl, she says. So she uses the Cricut machine to do a lot of crafts, and this is a lot of what her show is about. And she does full video, and audio podcast. However, what I want to show you, she has a lot of unique artwork, the images that she takes along the way of any project. And this is great material for posting on Instagram about her episodes. Her episodes are not how-to, it's more of a journey, but then she has these short videos, an unboxing that she did of a Cricut hat press, which is a actual product she uses. And then she shoots a lot of B-roll on her phone in, tall format. And what she had all these opportunities to, whoops, that video is not available. That's not good. All these opportunities to have YouTube shorts. She has all these videos. She could share them on YouTube. She could share them on Instagram TV. She's also got a lot of images for Pinterest. And she didn't know what was going to work for her audience. Her audience are, largely, I think, women. They're crafting sort of people. And where are they hanging out? And originally she thought maybe TikTok would be a good place, to post. And she experimented with that. Right. And maybe, where where was it going to work? And you know what? Scott Carson here, who's live with us in the webinar, is making a very good point, is
Yes.
that it's very important to really learn what social media platform your audience is on. And that he makes a great point. I think some of us, our subject matter people, are going to be more on LinkedIn. Other people might be more on Facebook for another audience, and other people, I think for Kim, for Weekend Crafting Adventures, Pinterest, Instagram, and YouTube are probably some of the best places. What Kim is finding is TikTok. She was not setting the world on fire with TikTok. She wasn't getting hardly any views when she posted some of her videos to Instagram. 2,000 to 4,000 views of some of those B-roll videos, those tall format videos. And she's like, whoa, I don't know what I did. And then YouTube also getting a couple thousand plays there. Now getting into Pinterest, but what she's done is had to experiment one at a time. She tried TikTok a little bit, didn't set the world on fire. Okay, let's not waste a lot of time there. My audience isn't on TikTok. I think her audience is more older women, not the young millennials and teen women, is my guess. And so, don't spend time on TikTok. Getting good engagement on Instagram, that's going to be a keeper. Then she went into YouTube and found that's really working, and has been fine-tuning YouTube with some of her descriptions and her tags.
Nice.
And every one of those little pardon me, every one of those little B-roll videos is in YouTube Shorts. And at first she was putting them in there, but wasn't putting any tags, wasn't linking back to her blog post of her website, wasn't, giving people the opportunity to learn where they could engage and get more. And then she's been updating that, and boom, all of a sudden some of these, and the titles of these videos of also these B-roll videos or something she's been playing with. So experimenting one at a time. And now she's getting into Pinterest. And Pinterest, anybody that does a lot of visual content, that I think is a good platform that will work for you. So that's just one example. Now, Cody, what have you experienced?
So it's really smart that she's actually attacking the YouTube Shorts. It's something I want to start here pretty soon, because YouTube is rewarding utilizing Shorts right now highly. It's a new thing that they've rolled out. They've even made sure that the constant YouTubers that I follow as well too are participating in Shorts. They started, limiting the way that they can make money off of their paywalls and such, because they really wanted you to start paying more attention and put more attention into Shorts. So if you guys are really looking at a new platform to start and try to take off there, especially utilizing the linking to your blog posts and sending it to your podcast, I think Shorts is a good route to experiment. We haven't started yet. It's going to be something soon, but we've mainly started on Instagram. It's tough because there's a bunch of really neat things you can do with Instagram. My podcast, it's an entertainment podcast. It's a movie review podcast. We see the new movies that come out every week. We also have a millennial on our show who hasn't seen cult classic movies, and we have a whole dedicated episode to that. And I'm noticing that her content is doing really well on Instagram, but the more relevant stuff, the new stuff that's coming out, anytime we're talking about really up-to-date topics, TikTok has been blowing up for us.
Wow.
So we're talking about The Daily Show on one of our episodes, right, with Trevor Noah, and then the next day Trevor Noah announced that he's actually going to be stepping down as a host from that. So one of my co-hosts got on and did a quick little green screen video of it, of announcing that he was going to be leaving and such. And in that same day we got 11,000 views on one video, and
on TikTok.
On TikTok it blew up like crazy. So what we learn from that is our most relevant topics, something that we can start to get after anytime something new is happening to a movie or a project or anything that we're talking about on the podcast show. That is TikTok's avenue. That's where our audience is, the new relevant such.
So for you, obviously TikTok is a place you can get a lot of engagement.
Yes.
Just with your subject matter and some. Now these are videos you guys are creating that are not a clip of part of the podcast.
No,
right?
these are mainly to build the social media audience alongside that same platform and that same channel, I am taking like the clips and other things from our podcast episodes as well too. So I'm
putting them
filling,
on TikTok.
yeah, I'm filling our TikTok feed with, yes, here's our podcast episode, but now we're trying to grow the audience more on TikTok, because the whole point of what we want to do, grow that audience there so that we can keep sending them to the podcast where we talk more about these things and such. So that's kind of been our tactic recently, and the most relevant topics. And when we're reacting to things, so we'll film ourselves reacting to some things. Like we had a couple videos that we put out to the Star Wars television show when that came out, Andor on Disney Plus. We posted our reaction videos on TikTok as well there, and they got really great engagement there, because our podcast is called We Watch It, and a lot of people have been coming up to me is like, oh, do you react to things? Do we watch you react to things? And I'm noticing that that's a popular avenue here starting pretty soon. So me and my co-hosts might be switching up our show just a little bit to show off more of our physical reactions to scenes, our physical reactions to this content as well too, and using TikTok as that avenue, and then repurposing those for podcast episodes as well too.
Fantastic. Okay. Interesting tactics. I want to share with our attendees some comments that Scott Carson's making here.
Yeah.
He says, we started doing a short almost every Monday to Friday with our content. We're seeing some views, but not a lot of subscribers to our YouTube channel. And that's, I think, an important thing that we see happening too, not only with ourselves, with other people. You can give a video that gets a whole lot of views, but that doesn't necessarily get you a whole lot of subscribers. And that, so there is always a delta there. And I think that's something that's going to be unique for everybody. You just have to watch it. Now, he also makes the comment that we share the 1 minute short from YouTube Shorts and repost it to TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, and our Facebook business and personal profile, averaging around 200 views on TikTok, seeing 50 to 100 additional views on YouTube. Wow. So I think everybody's going to have different. I think those are very good numbers.
Still great numbers. Yeah.
Very good numbers. Not everybody is going to get 11,000 views on a platform, or even 2,000 or 4,000 views on a platform. If you get 200 views, 100 incremental views of something of yours, that's 100 more people that are aware of your brand, your show, and are probably going to go give it a try. So, but I can already, I don't know about any of you who are here, pardon me, who are here live and are watching this, and here comes Tracy joining us. Any of you that are here live and watching this, or even watching the recording, if you're like me, reading Scott's comment, hearing what Cody's doing, me looking and knowing what Kim is doing with her podcast, I'm already overwhelmed.
It's great data out there. Yeah.
I am overwhelmed. And what's wonderful is there's lots of opportunities and lots of different platforms to engage in, but you've got to go experiment. And this is, I think, the point of today's message. You've got to experiment and then figure out, like Scott said, that was, I think, quote of the day so far. You've got to find where your audience is.
Yeah.
Right?
And we have a comment on Facebook as well too. JT, he's been talking about how rewarding YouTube Shorts have actually been super successful for him as well too. He helps out David Sidoni's podcast, so they've been rewarding him a lot on YouTube recently. That's the How to Buy a Home podcast as well. And he also shares with us that repurposed content, such as clips from the longer content pieces, have shown less of a return than the original content on the platforms. It's to the point where each platform is so established that there is a style of contact people like to see. Repurposing content hasn't gone well or yielded great results in the past unless the topic matter was extremely relevant. So we're touching upon that relevant factor. That's the key thing with these videos, I'm noticing.
Okay.
So when we've been doing this for quite some time for many clients, but specifically in our own, and the only difference is that when we have, I'm going to call it more tip-based content, we definitely see a boost in the short clips. So if it's some kind of tip, if it's some kind of advice, we see a lot of engagement on it, specifically on LinkedIn. But we do also see it on YouTube Shorts. So like I would say those are the two places we predominantly see it. Our TikTok is solely tips. Like we don't put anything else but that there. So I don't have a comparison to say if we put this other type of content, what would we get there? We only repost tips that are working in other places onto TikTok. And it's all that our TikTok channel is. Does that make sense to everybody?
It does. Yeah. And here, another, I think, important thing that Scott shared that I think is good. He says it takes, him 10 minutes to record a 1 minute short and about 10 minutes to upload that video to all the other platforms. So, and now that's when he's creating his own, kind of like Cody, you were saying when you guys created one and you were talking about, the Daily Show or something. Obviously we create a lot of, video clips, video memes as a part of our production service for our customers. And those are available to use, and they are, can be made in that tall format for, appropriate for, you want to make sure you use the size appropriate for the platform that you're going to be posting on and know what that is. But Scott making additional ones is, it takes a little time, but boy, he gets, a lot of, he's getting some incremental plays there. And also he's saying 1 to 2 minute videos are doing best on TikTok. That's what TikTok experts,
because anything longer than 5 minutes isn't worth it on TikTok.
On TikTok, that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Right, because it's about short bursts. You've short attention spans. So Kevin Warren is commenting, I think this is helpful. They get a lot of engagement on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. They're also posting on. What does
They
it
do
say?
1 to 2 posts, clips. TikTok with tags are added, and tags matter everywhere. We do tags on Instagram, tags on Facebook. So tags do matter. And that's because like he's particularly in the sports podcast niche. And so if it's sports content, you want to make sure you're tying into that and tagging to what it's relevant to or what conversation you want to tap into. So he's checking what's trending in sports and then tagging to that. And then they use audio clips with headliner 1 to 2 minute clips. So we are really seeing such a significant decline in audiograms that it's not worth doing. The video clips are doing so much better, almost 5 to 10 times better, depending on the platform that they're on, than the audiograms are. So if you have a video show, or you are capturing at least video for clips, even if you don't want to post your podcast as a full-length video, and that's totally okay. But we find that those video clips, what we call video memes, are doing better than audiograms. So we've actually, in the last 3 months, dropped audiograms altogether from our own social just to see what happens. And the video memes have just picked up, and they're doing so much better. The same post that we would normally make on the same time of day with an audiogram, with the video meme, is just doing better by comparison month over month. And so that's why we've really, it is a lot. So here's the thing that I do want to say, and I think we should tie into starting our podcast episode here and the Feed Your Brand episode, is that we don't do separate content. We've tried it, and it doesn't work any better than taking the clips from our show. And that's why we don't do it. And that's why we developed the multimedia program that we have for people, so that we can take those clips from the show for you, and it can be less work for you. But if you're doing them separate and on your own, look, I totally understand. David Sidoni has like a massive like mission way that he's working, the way that he likes to do it. It's a part of his job. It's a part of what he does, but he also has team to support that. He has Jonathan, and Jonathan does a fabulous job supporting the strategy, making sure he's recording, getting them edited, getting them posted. Like there's a whole team that supports that job, part of the job.
Well, yeah.
But
and in the case of David Sidoni, he's doubled down on his podcast this year. His podcast is his primary marketing vehicle for his company, and it's earning him direct money attributed from the podcast. I mean, he's making passive income from people buying real estate all over the country that he's referred to other agents. So that's part of why
but it's
that's a little
not from
different.
advertising on his show.
No.
Just be really careful
No.
about that. And while the social media, it's boosting the listenership, which is then that listenership is getting him the referrals that he's making out. And that's where the commission is being made. So everything's working together and is tied together. And I think that that's critical to understand, that he's got a business model that the social media is working from, and it's tied to the podcast. So it's all working together, which is just a very different model than just using your podcast and promoting that on social media, which is kind of what we're going to talk about, that starter model today. So let's tie into the episode. Let's get that kicked off, and then we'll go back and answer some more questions and kind of go through that. What do you think?
Sure. With my time schedule, you want me participating with you? Okay,
yep,
kick it
go
off.
ahead.
All right. Hey everyone, welcome to Feed Your Brand. I'm Tom Hadger along with my co-host Tracy, and today we're going to talk about starting out on social media with your podcast. And boy, I'll tell you, social media for podcasters, we can go down a very deep rabbit hole there. This is going to be a narrow topic for just starting out, right, Tracy?
No, actually, it's not for just starting out.
No,
it's for just starting out promoting your podcast on social media. I want to be clear on this. It's not for just starting on social media as a podcaster.
Oh, no, I meant promoting your show. Maybe I didn't state that very well.
It doesn't matter if you've been doing social media for quite some time, or you're an expert at Instagram or TikTok or wherever you are. This is about if you're just starting your podcast and you've never used podcasting in social media as part of your content or promotion strategy with social media. So this is our recommendation for this. And why we recommend one channel is what we're really talking about today. There's 2 whole gigantic workshops we just did in the last month that are going to be added to the podcast episode here. So you'll be able to link through to watch those videos. They're like an hour to 90-minute webinars that we workshops that we did with our clients that I'm happy to share with all of you Feed Your Brand listeners. You're going to get the bonus of being able to access that because it's not readily available, but we're going to have that in the blog post for this episode at podetize.com under the Feed Your Brand tab, or you can go feedyourbrand.co and you'll be able to get directly there to find the podcast episode. And then you can go there and get straight to those 2 workshops. We did one that's a social media starter, assuming that you've really not done social media before. And the second one is an advanced social media, which is just more advanced concepts as to what we're going to talk here. But one of the controversial things that we've had a lot of debate about is why we only choose and recommend one social media. We've come up against got a lot of clients who have social media advisors or coaches and who are urging them to just do it all, do it everywhere. And we say, I don't recommend that. And I have pushed back. I don't know how many times on clients who push back on us on this. And we really only recommend doing one social media channel to start with when you are promoting your podcast episodes. You can, of course, say, I've got a podcast everywhere on social media. It's no different than you promoting your course, your book, things that you normally would promote in the course of everything. Let everybody know you have a podcast. There's no question about that. Do that everywhere. But when you're starting out and you don't know what's going to resonate with your audience yet, we recommend doing only one social media as the focus of it. Doesn't mean you can't reshare on other social media, but we want you to start with one focus only for how you're going to format your content, how you're going to test it out, and what you're going to do with this. So the example of this is, I'm going to start with LinkedIn because that's an easy one. And it's where a lot of you business podcasters will start with. I guarantee you, it's just going to be where you're going to start. So if I'm promoting a podcast episode and I've decided that LinkedIn is my one thing that I'm going to focus on first, my primary that I'm going to focus on first, then I'm going to make a decision. How many days of the week am I going to post there? I personally post 5 days a week. Actually, sometimes 7, but 5 days a week is my commitment. And then if I have extra things to promote during the week, I'll promote 7. And that might be because we did a workshop or because we did something extra special that week. I'll go to 7 days just so that I don't mess up my normal posting schedule. So I've got 5 days a week that I'm going to post. I personally post twice a day. Not everybody does. You can choose to do one. So I'm just going to use in the example here, 1 time a day. So if I've got 5 days a week and I've got a podcast episode that I want to promote once a day, every day over the course of those 5 days, I want to use a different format of content and test it out on each day of the week. So on Monday, I might post what we call internally here ego bait, which is the graphic quote image. It's like a testimonial about why our guest was so great on our show or what's so amazing about them that we had our guest. So essentially, it's an announcement that says, this wonderful guest is on the show and here's why. So it's a graphic image with a post that goes along with it, with a tag to tag the guest so that they know that I'm promoting their episode. And I might do that both in the post and in the comment. So now I've tested out what we call the ego bait, the quote graphic about the guest. Day 2, I want to post a video clip. I'll do a video meme, we call it here. It'll be under a minute, about a minute. It might be under 2 minutes on LinkedIn. Yeah, under 2 minutes for absolute certainty. If my focus were TikTok or Instagram, I would make it under 1 minute completely, like it would be my focus. But because it's LinkedIn, I can go a little bit longer. So I might go under 2 minutes. And so it's about a 1 to 2 minute video meme clip. There is zero branding. I don't brand it with my podcast episode. I don't do anything about it until maybe the end clip. So like it might finish the clip and then end with an image of my cover art that says, listen to the whole episode here. And it'll have the binge factor or feed your brand or whatever that is. So I don't do any branding though on it. There's captioning on it. And that captioning is built in by my team and by us, by Strategize. And we don't do that auto captioning from LinkedIn because I don't want them to get it wrong. They don't know the terminology. And if you use the auto captioning on any of the social media channels, 9 times out of 10, they're going to get your industry language wrong, which is something you don't want to have happen on your video clips. So day 1 was the guest sort of graphic. The day 2 is the video meme. Day 3 might be a more of what you would call like a story if you were doing Instagram, where it's a quote graphic of something I said on the show, a quote graphic of something the guest said of the show, and the cover art for the episode. So a graphic of what the episode title was. And it runs like a video because video does so well. So we create it into a video, but it's really just a rotation of 3 graphics. And with maybe a little voiceover, but probably not. It's probably just the 3 graphics themselves. And then the post that I create for that links to the episode blog, not to the podcast on Apple or Spotify, links to the episode blog. So that's day 3. Day 4, I'll go back to something where I've clipped video clip of the guest and I want to hear what the guest had to say, the advice that the guest gave. So this is another guest promotion on day 4. And so it is a video meme, just like we were talking about before, but that video meme and the whole post has the tag for the guest. It's really focused on what they said that was so tremendously important. And we will actually quote out what was said in the clip. And this one's usually under a minute. And it can even be 30 seconds. And we'll quote out the quote of what they said in the post itself. So even though the video's there with what it says, we've actually physically quoted it in the post itself. So that's day 4. And on day 5 of it, and we don't do Monday through Friday, we kind of offset it. And it's usually like Sunday through Thursday. That's kind of our model of it, just because of how we do it. But that's our choices because we know how our LinkedIn runs. But so that's why I'm saying day 1, day 2, day 3 to day 5 here. Day 5 is a what did you miss? And typically we might actually run a video carousel kind of idea of multiple graphics of different episodes that they missed over the course of the last 4 weeks, or this new episode grouped with 2 other episodes that are related to it that might be interesting about the topic. So it's kind of a what you missed out on because you're not listening to the binge factor, or what you missed out on because you're not getting your tactics and tips from Feed Your Brand. That's how we do it. That's kind of our weekly focus. So here's the thing. We've dialed this in. We know that this works. We used to have audiograms in the place where I'm featuring the video meme from the guest. Those audiograms just don't work. And so in order to test out and make sure it wasn't the fact that maybe Thursdays at 1 p.m. just doesn't work really well, we put something that we knew was working, video memes, and we put it into the Thursday slot and tested it out. And what we found was that video meme worked better. It worked 5 times better than when we were using the audiogram. So if you do this across too many social media channels and you're playing, you have no what we would call pure design of experiment to test out what type of content works with your audience, what type of content works for the channel that you're utilizing, and is it the day and the time. There's too many variables in it. So this is why we come back to recommending one social channel that is your main focus for it, and dialing it in there, getting it right, working on it. And we recommend doing this for at least 90 days. So at least 3 months. But if you're new to social media, so you don't have all the data on the best time of day to post and things like that, so you're not starting with the best information to begin with because it's brand new to you, you may need to wait 6 months total. And if you're posting daily episodes, this is much more complicated. So this is for someone who really is doing a weekly show. And I just want to be clear on this. If you're doing a daily show, this gets a whole lot more complex in terms of number of posts that you have to make per day, the episode rotation, and what you're doing. So watch that advanced social media workshop that I told you about, because we did talk about ways to do that and ways to handle multiple episodes at once and things like that. But this is why we recommend one, because you really need to do an experiment. Even if you're great at LinkedIn and you've been amazing at it, you need to understand how your podcast is being shared with that audience. So it's translating into new listeners, new engagement from those listeners, like how that is working for you and what you can do about it. And you can't do that if you're spreading yourself too thin, doing it everywhere at once, and you find out one thing's working over here and another thing's working over at this other social channel. It's confusing things for you. So what I recommend, again, one social channel, pick the one that it has the most obvious audience for you. For us, like I said, business to business, LinkedIn's the most obvious for us. That's why I chose it as the example here. But for you, it might be TikTok, it might be Instagram, it might be Twitter. It doesn't matter which it is. Just decide that primary, because you know that channel well, because you already know you connect with the audience there. So you've seen what's resonated before when you've used it before. Or you're really testing out the idea of, this is where I think my audience is. Let's see if they're actually there. And so that's your test as well. So does that make sense, Tom? Because you're kind of a novice to social media. You don't do the posting here. I do most of it. Doesn't that make sense to pick one channel?
It does make complete sense. And it's precisely because it's overwhelming. And even though, I use social media personally, I don't use it that much in business. I think we have someone on our team that logs into LinkedIn and makes posts for me. So even posts that say they're from me, I don't do them. Occasionally they need me to do
they don't
something
log in, just to keep that in mind. We use a third-party buffer or Meet Edgar, one of those
they're
systems.
scheduling those, or if they need me to do something, they literally give it to me and say, here, copy this and paste this into LinkedIn and post it, please. So I'll do that. But no, it's completely fair. To me, what makes the most sense, because I understand complexities and systems and processes and things, is that if you engage in more than one social media channel at a time and you don't yet know what's really going to work and what's not going to work, and if you have too many variables going on at one time, if you change more than one thing at a time, you're not going to know which one of those 2 or 3 things you changed is what made the difference and worked, right? So you've got to approach this in a methodical way so that you actually get a proper feedback loop and know whether something's working or not. I mean, I don't think any of us need just busy time posting things on social media just because we don't have enough to do in our lives, right? And we want to spend time and learn what works so that we can get more awareness for our shows, right? And that's the tough thing, is that it is so different for everybody and your subject matter too.
Right. There's
You know?
just so many variables, and that's why we want to narrow those variables down. Again, it doesn't mean you can't share that everywhere. It just means that the creation, the focus of what you're deciding and what you're testing and watching starts with that one social channel only. And so if you're only going to post once a week, post once a week there. It doesn't really matter. And then reshare that on Instagram, on TikTok, on just reshare it in the other places on the other days of the week. This is my other recommendation to you, is that if you are going to reshare the same content, so if I'm going to do video memes on Tuesday, I'm not going to do video memes on Tuesday on LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. I'm going to do, and Facebook, I'm going to do video memes on Tuesday on LinkedIn because it's my primary. I'm testing it out. Then I'm going to do that video meme on Wednesday on Instagram, Thursday on TikTok, Friday on Twitter, Saturday on Facebook, whatever it is. I might send Instagram and Facebook on the same day. I might do that because they auto post to each other. But you see what I'm doing with that is I'm offsetting it so that not in case people are following me everywhere, they don't get the same thing on the same day at the same time.
Right. You're mixing it up and you want to have a plan. And I think that's where using a tool like Buffer, Meet Edgar, or something like that is very helpful, because you can schedule that video meme to go live on LinkedIn on Tuesday and live on
And then you just
another
copy
one
it
on
and
Wednesday and another one on Thursday. And then you do the same thing with each of them. And so you have, you may have 5 different pieces of content you're sharing, each going out each day, but to a different social platform, and you mix it up, right?
That's right. That's right. And then what we do again is we come back at the 90 days or at the 6-month mark, whatever it is that is right for you. We come back and we take a look at what was resonating, what was working. And then we make one major change at a time. We change either the day, the times, we change the type of content. Because we see something's not working, we remove audiograms, but we leave the date and time intact so that we're not changing too many variables at once, because then we have a false failure or a false success. We don't understand what really worked. So we just try to change one variable at a time.
Well, I think that's words to the wise, Tracy. And I think we risk going down a deeper rabbit hole if we continue on this topic.
Absolutely.
I mean, I think we wanted a narrow topic for today. And
right. And the workshops will do. The workshops will do the heavy lifting for a lot of the other things. The last thing, though, that I do want to leave you with is, if your coaches push back on you, if your team pushes back on you and say, no, we can do this everywhere at once. Remember that you are new to podcasting, and that creating a great podcast needs to be your focus, or no one will continue to listen. It won't be sustainable and you will be wasting your time. So if you switch your focus from that podcast to having to do everything on social media, it's too much too soon until you're absolutely sure your content is working, your process is working, your audience is working. All of those things are really working with your podcast as a whole. So this is also another reason why we say to only work on one thing at a time. So concentrate on your podcast, take the 5 things in this case that Strategize does for you if you're using our done for you production services, or model them. If you're going to do it yourself, that's completely fine. And take those things, figure out how to share them each week on one platform. That's the process flow right there. Then when you get that right, measure it, take a look at it, 90 days or 6 months, set a time for yourself that you're comfortable with. And then look both at, how did my podcast do during that time period? Was I really great? Am I getting good feedback on the content, on what I'm producing? And then, is this working on social media? And what's not working? Let's make that one adjustment at a time. Go every 30 days and make a small adjustment, and every 30 days and make a small adjustment.
And also, Tracy, after that one social platform, you have that figured out at least to a level.
That's right.
Not that you aren't going to make changes and course correct as time goes on. Once you have that one figured out, then you can layer in social platform 2, right?
That's right. And you'll make just different decisions because TikTok's a different platform. Maybe you need shorter clips over there. So you might decide on platform 2 that you're going to take pieces of what worked, but you're going to mess with it a little bit because this platform and audience is a little bit different in what they accept from content.
Yep.
So that's where you'll play with that as well. If you have no information and no data, you're going to take exactly what you did in LinkedIn. You'll move it to TikTok. When we figure out what's not working there after 3 months, then you'll go, okay, let's make an adjustment. So that's how we do it.
Sounds perfect. All right. Well, hope everyone got some really good value out of that. Thank you so much for listening. Many more great topics like this within our episodes of Feed Your Brand, which you will find on podetize.com. Thanks for listening, everybody.
And even more resources on the blog for this episode at podetize.com or feedyourbrand.co.
All right. Thanks for listening, everybody. This has been Tom and Tracy Hazard on Feed Your Brand. Okay,
Tom's
cool.
got to run.
I've got to run. Tracy will stay for more Q&A. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next week, and have a great one till then. Oh,
Thanks,
I
Tom.
need to make you the permanent host, I think.
Yes.
Before, otherwise it will be ugly.
It will be ugly. Everybody will drop off.
There you go. You are the host.
Thank you.
All right. See you, everyone. Bye.
Okay. Anyone have any questions? What do you think, Cody?
I thought it was great content. It's great to know. I love the daily plan structure. I gotta say, I learned this from our workshop that we did. You did the social media workshop. This is where I learned it from. And I think it's the best way to manage your data for each platform. I think that's the best takeaway from that, because if you're starting out with a podcast, such as myself, I need a way to mine all of that, because if I'm just mindlessly posting every single day and then just taking a look at the data altogether, it's very overwhelming. It's very complex, and I don't really understand what numbers I'm looking at. But if you take into account to where you post on one day, let the episode data accumulate on that day that you post, go to the next day, and then utilize that for your announcement that, oh, hey, we'll tackle Instagram today. Now Tuesday is the day that we're looking at all the Instagram numbers. Then Wednesday, let's do the video meme on TikTok. That way we can see daily what I'm taking away from each platform, what I could be doing better, and how I can change all of that moving forward as well. So I love that stuff.
Exactly. And so, Cody, I just put a note to myself, and we'll add this to the topic list for next month.
Okay.
But we'll talk about how we then take the data afterwards when we're measuring.
Yes.
What my team does is not only take the data and measure, like, how did these type of posts do, so that we do more of them. Like, we ended up doing more videos because that worked for us.
Mm-hmm.
And so technically now 4 days a week, we're doing videos. Like, if you really look at it that way, even though they're really like a carousel of images, it's still technically a video. And so because we do that so often, that came from studying the content. But what we also did was that we studied which one of the 5 posts per week was resonating most with people. And then we put that into our evergreen list. And so we have Meet Edgar has a really nice model for doing that. So like, you can actually just move the post or select it and sort of add it to your evergreen list. But if you've got one, then what we typically would do is we would just push all the data for that and put it on a spreadsheet like we used to have. That's like the old school way of doing it. But this is the episode. This is the episode link. This is the link to what the posts look like. This is the link to the folder with the data that you upload when you're ready to make the post again, right?
Sure.
And so that you could repeat the post periodically when you're promoting the episodes again, because we do monthly repost episodes. And
Yeah.
so we are always, that's why we do 2 posts a day, 7 days a week, really, is because we have so many episodes to share because between 2 shows so we post Feed Your Brands 1 time of day and the Binge Factor the 2nd time a day, because we have 2 shows, right?
Yeah.
So like that's part of the complication of what we do. And then, like I said, we do the 6th and 7th day are evergreen and general posts about what's going on in the company, the next workshop, whatever that is. So we have
announcements.
4 more posts for those per week.
Great.
That we do. And so, but we do use this evergreen list. And then we also have a timed evergreen list. So like every May 4th, I have our sort of Star Wars themed episodes which really they aren't episodes. They're articles that were written about that premiere on the May 4th. And so every May 4th, we reshare those episodes. Giving Tuesday around Thanksgiving might be another day that you want to share your posts about your episode about gratefulness or something like that. So you might want to reshare that then. Thinking about it like themed, right? Like you have a monthly theme or something like that. And so you want to time those right based on things that are going to be in conversation, as Kevin was mentioning in the chat before about tagging. Well, our evergreen list is tagged in a similar way. And so whenever we have those tags on those posts, we make sure we're utilizing one that might be something that becomes a holiday or becomes a repeating. It's already pre-tagged and we already saved those tags with the evergreen so we can reuse them again.
Just reuse them. Yeah.
Pull them up when we need to, right? You know, it's like, so you can easily pull from your evergreen list at any time when you're looking for a specific tag.
That's smart.
So that's so really those smart. Are some things like that. Tags are essential, both in social media and in how you organize your sort of information and being able to real easily access it and re-access it. So do that work at the beginning. It's a lot less work than.
It's a lot less. Yeah.
So
Scott was even just said that we couldn't do what we do without a marketing schedule. That makes sense. Scott, you're insane with the Note Closer show. If you were not on a schedule, I wouldn't understand how you would be doing any of that. Oh, it looks like Rosie has a question too.
And I gave her the permission to talk. You can type or you can just talk, Rosie.
Hey guys, great information. I do have a question. So Tracy, you were saying that audiogram, or that you have found that for you guys, audiograms don't work as well. So if I wanted to switch out my audiograms for an additional video, can I just send an email to the production company?
Yep, absolutely. So if you just send a message into help@Podetize that you'd like to switch from an audiogram to a video meme, it's no problem. The team will make arrangements. We just have to do a couple of template and SOP changes.
Sounds good. Because the reason I asked you talked about sharing tips for TikTok. And at the end of every podcast, I always ask my guests to share 2 actionable tips, and then I reiterate them. So I would like to do the video of me reiterating those tips, because I typically publish, or I typically share the video of the guest. So I'd like to have a little bit more of my face out there.
Of yourself, right? Yeah. Exactly. That's a great way to mix it up, Rosie. And what I would just say is when you're doing this, if you have I always say, the clip that I do that is sort of the testimonial about the guest is usually comes when I analyze their binge factor. So it's actually really easy for the team to pick a video clip from around there, because I'll be saying, okay, we're ready to psychoanalyze your show. Your binge factor is it's pretty typically follows that format. So it's always so easy for them to always pick a video meme clip from there. And they'll edit it and get it just right so it sounds good and it flows and it's a complete thought. And, if it has to be a minute and 3 seconds just to make that work, they'll do it. They'll take care of it for me. And so that's in your standard operating procedure, what we call your SOP, when you say, I want to switch from the audiogram to this, and here's where I want it to come from. Or here's, whenever I talk about this, it could be anywhere in the episode, but whenever I talk about this, I want you to clip that.
Okay. Well, mine should be pretty easy because it's always at the end. So,
which is so much better. Yeah. You've made our job easier for us. So Perfect.
All right, great. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and-
And Rosie, just send an email to help@Podetize.
Help at, yeah.
Right. But you can also send to Christina directly to make
Mhm.
sure, because she'll actually be the one who will contact you back.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions? Anything on our streaming? We're getting close to our time here.
No, nothing on our streaming platforms, but I want to kind of bring it back because JT brought up another really good point about
Great.
repurposing content. So he was saying earlier that his repurposed content seems to be not the best content, because you want to be doing original content alongside to build the channel up specifically, but the repurposed content is still a great way to post consistent content, because if that's not all you do, possibly consider a few original pieces as well too. So not
Well-
relying on the repurpose 100% sometimes. It's just something he's noticing.
Well, here's what I want you to rethink of repurposing from your perspective is an old content. Okay.
Yeah.
This is what I want you to rethink for yourself. There's always a way to share the same video again, but rephrase how you present it, redo
Sure.
the post for it, tag it differently, do something different if you're feeling like that's not resonating with your audience. But the reality is repurposed content is for people who just met you and just joined you.
Hmm.
And it's not for the core audience within your fan base. But I find, and this is the thing, is that it's especially like David Satoni, we were talking about earlier, David's audience, once they buy a home, they're not interested in listening to how to buy a home. So there's actually a whole new audience coming in all the time that
Yeah.
are in this different stage of things. So maybe tagging them first time home buyer tag or like new to us, like, you could come
Yeah.
up with some tags that help
Okay.
you understand that these are for the newbies. And that's really who they're focused on. And if they're repetitive, it's just like you really straight out say, this is worth repeating to you again and again and again, because this is where you go wrong. Like, you could be really straightforward in how you repurpose. You do not need to repeat it exactly. And that's something to keep in mind.
That's
And
good.
then also,
Okay.
you don't need to repeat it too often and too soon.
Too soon. That's the big point
That's
as well
the big
too.
thing,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
If you're repeating it too often and too soon. Now, Twitter's an exception to this,
Sure.
because if you the people who tweet up to 10 times or more per day are the ones that are the biggest influencers on Twitter. So there's no way you're going to just, for something that's only going to last 30 minutes out on Twitter, if you're lucky,
Yeah.
15 minutes maybe, like, you're not going to not be repetitive. Like, the whole point is that it goes down in somebody's feed when they're not checking it and they've missed it and they don't go back to it. So being repetitive in Twitter is actually essential to catching them when they're on over the course of a 24-hour period.
Sure.
So it's kind of a part of the Twitter strategy. Is to
Yeah,
repeat
that's
yourself.
the point of Twitter almost. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so, so anyway, just, it is different for it. I would say that sounds like that kind of model of thinking is a TikTok
Sure.
nuance.
Yeah. There
It
you
doesn't
go.
work like that on Instagram. It doesn't
Instagram.
work like that in Facebook for sure. It definitely doesn't work like that in LinkedIn. Like,
Sure.
nobody really, I mean, sometimes I'll post something out that was so old that I think is like not even, but somebody who's brand new, just thinking about podcasting, they'll drop in and say, oh my gosh, this was timed perfectly. I was just thinking
Wow.
about getting started and I didn't think that was something I needed. So.
Okay, so changing the mindset on this is an opportunity to engage with brand new listeners, not necessarily, oh, I ran out of content, let's just throw some
Brand
more
new
stuff out there. Brand new
followers.
followers. Yeah.
Yeah, not
Okay.
listeners, because they're not
This is
listeners
social media.
yet,
Yeah,
right?
yep,
This is
yep.
social media. Brand new followers who just started following you or are just on their journey or just came into your ecosystem of whatever that is. That's what it's for there. And then, think about it this way. Look, just because in your particular case, Cody, on watching a movie, right?
Yeah.
We watch movies. Like, I think Tom just watched 16 Candles 2 nights ago.
Sure.
Like, that's my 80s childhood.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
but it doesn't get old, right? You
No.
rewatch it. So if we're going to rewatch things, what's wrong with reposting about things?
Sure. Okay. I like that.
Right?
I
There
like that
shouldn't
mindset.
be anything wrong with that because it's catching me at a different time. I mean, literally, I check Facebook once a week.
Sure.
And I only check it to just check the messages. And then I'll just do a quick scroll through the feed of the notifications and just check it out. And so you posted there and you think you got to me, but I guarantee you didn't. And there are people like that.
There
So
are
that's
people like
where-
that. Yeah, I
and
think
if you
Facebook is
posted it
notorious for
on-
that. Yeah.
right. And if you posted it 2 Mondays ago, maybe I missed it then, but I get it today.
I still get
So,
it. Yeah.
you know, yeah. So it's just, that's what we have to really remember is that on average, less than 13%, it's right around 13%. So less than 15% of our audiences will catch our posts, even people who follow us. They have to follow us like my mom follows me, right?
Sure,
Like,
sure. Yeah.
my mom puts me at the top of her list saying everything that Tracy posts I want to see.
Yeah.
Our followers don't do that. Like there's a really tiny percentage who do
Yeah.
that. And they won't care if you repeat yourself because they want to hear every word.
Everything.
That's why they're following you that intensely, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so you do that. Now, the people, like I have it happen where I was quoted on somebody's book.
Okay.
I like made a testimonial. I read the book ahead of time. I did a book review and it's
Got
just
it.
a quote on it.
Little testimonial on the
Yeah.
cover.
They posted that thing 5 times a day, exactly as it was on LinkedIn.
Oh, wow.
So it was like, and I was tagged in all 5 times a day. And so there's only so many times I'm going to like it and I'm going to share it. I'm going to start ignoring it because
Sure.
that feels like spam.
Yeah. Okay.
That's repurposing gone wrong.
When it feels like spam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's when we're doing it wrong.
Okay.
And our audience is sick of it and they're tired of hearing from us. And it feels like and especially when it's a sales message, which is like, in this case,
for
like,
sure.
this is why our book's so great. Buy it. You know, like that's
Yeah.
the message that it was. So
Mhm.
yeah, that's when you that's when people unfollow you.
Mm.
Right.
All right.
That's what happens there.
Another
Okay.
good way to look at that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. If we haven't got any other questions, then I think we'll wrap it up for today.
Yeah. I think it's time.
We've got some interesting things coming this month. We're going to be talking about selling products on your podcast.
Mhm.
That's going to be coming up. What else, Cody? What else do we have? I know we have a couple other-
There's a couple new tech episodes coming out as well too, teaching you how to recover lost recordings and such, specifically with Zoom. So that's something to look forward to as well. Yeah, and I think Barry Shore sent us a really neat
oh yeah,
thing that
That's
we
great.
want to tackle in January. 1 second.
See, if you guys send stuff in, we listen.
We listen. Yeah, please. If you guys have a topic that's out there, you can email me at sales@podetize.com and we will make sure that we can repurpose more content for you as well too.
Yeah. Oh, to answer Adrian's question while you're looking
Oh,
that up,
yes.
yes, this session is always available to watch again later. So you can't go back into the Zoom and watch it, but we do repost it into our YouTube channel. It will be repurposed as a Feed Your Brand episode, but it is in all the social channels. So if you go to the Facebook group, it's there. If you go to LinkedIn and connect with Tom, you'll be able to re-watch it in any of the social channels from the live stream. So what do we get? Did you find it, Cody?
No, I didn't find it. I'm looking in my notes. I think I have it here, actually.
That's okay. We'll
let's
catch
go
up. But
here.
we have a
Yeah.
couple of technical ones that we'll be covering and
Podcast swaps with your 10 best.
So
yeah.
this is we're going to do a little analysis on how you can tell what your 10 best are and then reaching back out to them and start doing a guest swap, asking for it the other direction.
Yeah.
So if they didn't already offer it to you, kind of doing that. So, and then, so that could be fun. Okay, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate you. And we'll be back next Wednesday with another live stream and another topic here on Podetize.